Hello. Welcome everyone to the next lecture of data analytics using Excel. I am Dhruv. I will be your tutor for the day. In this lecture, or in even the next lecture, you will be able to unlock the full potential of using pivot tables and pivot charts. In this entire lecture, we'll be working on the same case study we have been working on the past few lectures. And let's just directly dive into it and see what I have to offer for today. So if you can see in front of me, I have the entire data set again in a very raw format. And as always, the first step that we need to take is clean this, right? So I'll just click here, and I don't need row ID because it is just unnecessary data. So I will delete that part. And I really want to work with these numbers, the decimal places. So I will actually select all of them and give 2 decimal places. Now the entire data set looks a little clean. The second thing which I really want to do right now is create pivot charts, right? So we'll learn how we can create more dynamic charts as compared to what we were doing previously. So we'll go to insert and then click on pivot table directly, and from table analysis we'll click here. Let's just do it in the new worksheet. So the first thing which I really want to do is actually see sales by region. This is one graph that I have in front of me right now. If you're going to go here and check, there is an option of pivot chart in front of you. Let's just try to click on pivot chart, and you will be able to see all the charts which are in front of you for whatever information you might want to summarize as of now. If you click here, there are a couple of things which are in front of you, which are being displayed here, which was not there when we were using a simple chart. So right now I have this particular section also where I can edit which particular thing will be displayed or not, will not be displayed in the first place, right? Second thing which I want all of you to actually work on with, let's say I really want to create another pivot chart. Let's say I'm going to this part, or you can directly work on the pivot charts from here. You can create here, select a table and range. I want to create pivots on the new worksheet, right? So in this particular chart, I really want to work with, let's say, first country, right? And then I really want to work with, let's say, a region. Then under region, we have states. And then I really want to see the sales and profit of all of these, right? Now, please excuse me. If you can see, this is the very complex charts which we will not be able to do if we were just working with the bar graph in our last place. It is very detailed and it is dynamic. What do I mean by when I say this entire chart is very dynamic? I can click on this plus and minus and I can summarize the entire chart just with a few clicks. I don't actually have to create different charts again and again with the same data sets. The entire thing will be done for me in only one chart, right? So I'm able to summarize all the information there is. And you can go around and you can see what is the sum of sales for and sum of profit for only United States, and then you can expand it the way you want to, and the pivot table will also keep on expanding, so that you have to work on with that. The functions which we saw in the last lecture, which were, I will actually have for all the states for now, the chart styles. Let's just try to work on with the same chart style. Although this doesn't look good, I'll actually find some other chart type which looks better. This one looks better, so I will work around with this one, right? And okay, yeah, chart is here again. Let's just delete this and see what will happen if I'm actually going to change this plus and minus and to the space of the entire cell. So you can see that per graph, per bar basis, the width will actually increase, but the entire chart will not shrink. So that is one thing that you need to make sure, that whenever you're creating such charts, make sure that you have enough space so that when you are actually expanding or contracting, the bars don't look very ugly or whatever it might be. Another thing that you really have to work around with, let's say I'm actually writing plus and plus again, and then I'm going to insert, actually power pivot or pivot table analyze. I can actually write a slicer. Let's say I really want to check the information based on order date, or let's say not order date but like ship date. I can always click on OK, and I can have a slicer here. Although we all know that slicer for time series, it is always best to actually create a timeline. So I will create that instead. Actually go here, pivot table, insert timeline, ship date, and OK. And now I have a better view. I would really like to go with year wise values, and I'll move it. Okay. I have so why this is okay. My Excel is a little stuck, but you can understand what exactly I'm okay. Now I can move. I think it's the issue with the mouse. I really have to get a new one. But you can see that the chart is changing based on the data that I am selecting at the particular moment, because in turn this timeline is related to the pivot table that we have created, and the pivot table is the one that is giving inputs for our pivot chart. So all of these are actually combined together. In the same methodology, I can actually go to pivot table, analyze again, and add a slicer based on something. Let's say I want the slicer based on a particular category, so that I can see what is happening of to a particular category all across the state. So if I'm going with furniture, I can see the highest sales is from California, but if it is for office supplies, it is again California, but we have a competition from New York. Then for technology, I can see that it is again from California. So we can see directly from this entire analysis that under the United States and the superstore that we have, the highest sales that we are having from the entire space, from all the categories, is especially from California. Although you can add another charts as well. You can always go with Power Pivot and okay, first select the pivot table and then go to pivot table analyze, and then you can create more charts based on the same, or you can actually go ahead and then insert a pivot chart from chart or pivot table, or you can go with pivot chart again, which was already there. So this is one way to actually create such charts, and you need to really work around with what all you can create when you're actually going ahead with all of these charts. You can create line graph, bar graphs, and so many others as well, depending upon how it will actually be beneficial for you. So for all the years, let's see what will the trend for furniture. Again, California is there. Office supplies, again, I think California is leading, and then for technology, again, California is leading. Although, what will happen if I'm going with 80? It is only New York and California for the 2 years. This one emphasis that we can actually have, and then for office supplies, it is very less states again, and then for furniture we have very less states again. So we can understand for 2018, all of the states are not active for us, right? In the same methodology, just like we actually added a pivot chart here, that is a bar graph, you can add another pivot charts. I will actually give you an example again. Let's just try to add a pivot chart from this. Let's just do it in another worksheet now, and let's say you really want to work around with let's say we can have sales, quantity, discount, profit, or you can also create a calculated field if you want. But let's say I really want to have the product ID in the axis and the sales for that. Now you can see this will be a really cluttered one, and you're actually not trying to create, let's say, the entire bar graph by yourself. There was no particular time when I actually used bar graph by myself. I actually never gave inputs that I really want a bar graph. My Excel was smart enough to actually understand that I need a bar graph at this particular point, right? Let's just try to go and see what will happen if I'm going to go to design function. I can actually switch row and columns, and you can see the impact that is happening. I don't want that, and I can change the chart type from this particular icon. I can change it to pie chart or whichever will I feel necessary. For this particular example, there will be so many rows. That's why the example is not proper. Let's see what will happen if I'm going with category and subcategory, these two options. And let's say I'm not only going for this, but let's say profits as well, and for quantity. quantity is very less, which is like negligible, and just because of that I would actually like to work around with, let's say, another chart type which I can actually have. Let's say I'm going with combo chart, sum of quantity. This should be a secondary axis. So now I can see which particular line is actually having more information. And for all the bar graphs, I have x-axis, y-axis here, y1, and for this line, I have another axis here, which will actually giving me information about the quantity in this entire portfolio. I can again give slices and timelines based on whatever information I really need to create. One thing which I really want to emphasize now is, now we know how to create these charts and how we can actually work around with them. Most of the time, try to use pivot charts only because they are really dynamic and it looks good when you're actually submitting these specifically. Second thing, before doing anything, get the data, clean it, and ask yourself the questions, right? So what exactly do you want to understand? So for me, the first question I had in my mind, what is the per sector wise sales that I can see? Right, and I really wanted to create a dynamic dashboard like this so that I can just see the sales or each and every category in all the states together in the entire United Nation, so that I can do my analysis in as let's say effective way as possible. Right, so this is the one question I asked, and based on that I created this graph, and based on that I chose the figures which I really wanted to add in the pivot table in the first place. So this is one thing. You should also Google and see what how these dashboards look like in Excel using pivot tables and pivot charts, so you are able to create a very beautiful dashboard for yourself, which you can submit as a project in your resume as well. So that would be it for this lecture. Keep on learning, try different things with charts, and move around, think what will actually convey your message properly, which particular chart will work best, and then only you will be able to have a very good dashboard. If you have any doubts, you can always contact me. I would love to help all of you. Thank you everyone for joining.